I was hoping at least it wouldn't happen so soon. This is a paradigm shift. We are going from one way of organizing society here in, at least here in the West, Europe and North America, at least. And we're moving from that kind of society into something different, something very different.
Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. It's Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Bjørn Andreas Bull-Hansen. He has a YouTube channel called Bjørn Andreas Bull-Hansen. He's a Norwegian novelist who's fascinated by the Viking age, and he does a lot of hands-on research on the old ways. And he's written many novels. I'm not sure if they've been translated to English, but we'll find out. He also loves traveling. He's a bushcrafter, a yachtsman, a historic archer, and a bow maker. And his best friend is a lazy dog, like I do. I have Billy. He's not here right now. Billy, he's very lazy as well. Bjorn, great to have you on the channel. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine, thank you. I have to say we have two dogs now, and they are not so lazy because we lost the dog I was referring to. We lost her some time ago, and the two dogs we have now are very young and very energetic. But yeah, my novels have, as per today, as we are speaking, they have not been translated into English yet. That hopefully that will have changed if someone is watching this in the future. But yeah, many other languages, but not English.
Yeah.
As per today.
Yeah. So it's really nice to talk with you. For those of you who don't know Bjorn's YouTube channel, he's got like 400,000 subscribers. I really enjoy watching his videos. He's like a breath of fresh air for me, especially these last 16 months with things getting crazy as they are in the world. And that's what I want to talk to him a little bit about how to fight the globalists, for lack of a better word, and their plan to really make us more and more dependent, and how we can try to be or remain self-sufficient, self-reliant. I've also noticed, Bjorn, that you were a power lifter, weightlifter, and you've won medals in Norway and also Europe. So we could also talk a little bit about the mental side of things, because I think that's going to be very important from now on.
Yes, absolutely, and we are witnessing, I would say, something I thought not would happen within my lifetime. Well, maybe I did, but I was hoping at least it wouldn't happen so soon. This is a paradigm shift. We are going from one way of organizing society here in, at least here in the West, Europe and North America, at least, and we're moving from that kind of society into something different, something very different. What makes me frustrated these days is that people should see this. And I honestly think that lots of people out there are not capable of seeing this. And they don't want to listen if you bring them facts, logic, reason. They don't want that.
Yeah, they switch off, and
they do.
It's almost like you're flashing a bright light in their face, and they don't want to look at it. Sometimes a few months later or a year later, they come back to you and say, "Oh, you were right about that." And I mean, the other thing that you talk about as well, that a lot of my viewers always ask about, they ask me, what about prepping And because I cover, Bjorn, a lot, the markets, economics, the monetary system. I try to warn people, to prep people for a currency event, which I think is very possible that we can get some kind of 1923 style event. But you also talk about nature, which I think is really interesting, because I worked for over 20 years in an office in the city of London. I used to get up really early, and I'd be there like for maybe 11 hours a day. And the only contact with nature I had was on the golf course once in a while. But ever since I stopped working the city and have had more time, you know, to do things on my own, play a lot more golf, I feel a lot healthier and happier. So could we go over that a little bit? I think that's really important. And the other thing, yes, technology is great. I'm here in London, you are in Norway, and we're talking. But it seems like also this new paradigm shift seems to be wanting to make us completely switched on just to technology and not to the outside world.
Yeah, absolutely. I would actually like to say, first of all, that before I get into the nature thing there, my formal education is actually in economics and business. So that's my background. Now, I've never worked in that line of business because I got a contract and agreement on my first novel before I was finished with my studies. So I pursued that instead. But it's so important to include your finances into your prepping. And I must say, you know, some people will be upset now, I guess, but in the prepping community, there are many people talking about the finance side of things, the money side. And you can tell that they don't really know, they don't really understand what they're talking about. So I'm really glad that people like you are bringing that part of it into people's, people need to know what they're doing now, because as you're saying, things could change now with currency and all that. But the connection with nature is something that if you don't have that in your life, you are missing something. And it will manifest itself as maybe depression, maybe a feeling of not belonging to the people around you or where you are. And lots of people, they don't understand what's going on. And now, I'm not saying that everyone who is depressed because they are not connected with nature, of course, but it's one of the reasons that people tend to overlook. Now, I'm 48 now, and it's very difficult for me to imagine how it must be to live in a big city. I have never lived in a big city. I have been to big cities. Last time I was in a big city, that was Frankfurt in Germany. I got lost on the train. Inside the train, they had some people there. A woman who was my guide, who was holding my hand, not holding my hand literally, but guiding me around, because they knew that this guy, he's not going to show up because he will get lost. And I did get lost. My concern with big cities is that everything is so unnatural. You walk on very hard surface, and you can't walk there. You must walk right here, and you must do this, not this, and you must follow these rules. Like every movement must be within system of rules and regulations, I have problems with that, and I think it's not healthy. It does something to your mind, and what can I say? Everyone can't live out in the woods, of course, and I don't want everyone to live out in the woods because it would be crowded then. But still, you need to consider these things at least, and at least bring nature into your life to some extent.
Yeah, I think that's true, because before moving to the UK, I used to live in Switzerland, and I lived in Geneva, but we used to go a lot on the weekends up to the mountains, and it was always nice being up in the mountains. And I also started running a lot at one point, and in nature, and I got into the habit, and I felt a lot better from the running, from the exercise, and it just one thing led to another. And yeah, I think it's a good thing. And with the golf, of course, some people say it's a nice walk spoiled in nature, but I still feel quite, it's a really nice thing for me to be able to go out, sometimes even on my own in the evening, and play golf. Yeah, and I see that you like sailing as well, which is something my father used to do back in Brazil, where I'm from. I used to sail, and that's, you're out there in this, at sea with nature. So yeah, but like you said, not everyone can go live out near nature or in the woods, but I think we should try to make an effort. And what about with the green agenda that we're seeing that they're trying to push on the public? What do you think are the best strategies to try to, because it's so hard nowadays, they're bombarding us with so many rules and regulations. Here in the UK, we're supposed to have everything lifted on the 21st of June, but now they're pushing it again 4 weeks forward. And people are starting to question whether you can really trust the government.
You can't.
No, you can't. So I saw that in Norway, though. Was it last week? You're back to normal now, or?
We're never going back to normal.
No.
I know what you're referring to, but
yeah.
I just wanted to say that I don't think we will ever go back to normal, because we know that now they can do this to us.
Yeah.
At short notice as well. Now, they, I honestly don't know for sure. It's been a long time now since I stopped caring about the rules, to be honest. I only have to, I do know about the rules concerning my kids because they're in school. So, but that's back to normal now, I think, or almost normal. And they are starting to debate the mouth covering thing again. And apparently it's not useful anymore. So
yeah.
But, no, I honestly don't know what's going on here, but it's all about, because you see, it's all about the jib jab here. That's the whole thing. It's going to save us.
Yeah.
I'm not a big believer in that myself.
No, I'm not either. The same thing here, and they're scaring people into thinking if they don't take those things, they won't be able to do anything. So a lot of people are just doing it because they're concerned, I won't be able to travel there or do this.
Yeah,
and
that they have started doing here. That they have done. They have implemented the Corona Pass. So if you don't have it, you can't travel. Or they are framing it actually in the opposite way. If you have it, you have a lot of freedom now. That's what they're saying. So you can go to concerts and festivals and travel. And but people like me, my family, we can't, because we are marked with a red tag.
Yeah, and it's hard. I think though what you talk about trying to get more into nature, and that's something to think about if you don't want to participate in this new
Mm.
brave new world. I think you called that in one of your
Mm.
videos, and so any strategies or psychological things that you could do to help yourself and maybe your family as well in terms of self-reliance and independence?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is, if you haven't started prepping, you should. And of course, I'm not talking about the crazy doomsday zombie apocalypse kind of prepping that you see on TV. I'm talking about um, things like stocking up on food, having a lot of food, canned food, and pasta, rice. That's just off the top of my head now, so that you will be prepared for anything. You will eat the food anyway, so it's not a waste of money. And actually, if you think that the prices of food will rise, which I think it will, maybe not dramatically, but it will rise, then it's even a good investment, because you will be eating food, like, let's say 2 months from now, that if you had to buy it 2 months from now, it would be more expensive. So that's one thing. And if you live in a city, I believe that you should plan to get out. You should have a plan to get out. You should have alternative, at least one other place that you can go to, travel to on short notice. It could be a friend's house, could be a cabin, could be, people need to get creative about this. So what happens when you start prepping is that it does something to your mind that is very positive, and you feel more secure, you feel more grounded, you feel much more, well, confident, because you know that you are prepared for maybe not every scenario, but many scenarios. You will be prepared. Again, I'm not talking about the crazy stuff. You don't need 100 guns or anything like that. But just think about what do you need within a period of 6 months, for instance. What do you need? And try to build up storage of those items that you will need within, for instance, 6 months. It's common sense, it's not being crazy, it's not being paranoid, it's just common sense. And really, if you look at it, people have been prepping all up through history whenever they could. It's just, I guess, the last 2 generations haven't done that. We've been spoiled. But my I don't have my grandparents anymore, but they experienced the Second World War, and there was an element of prepping there, because they had to, so it's not that long ago.
No, it's not. And talking about things that haven't happened for a while and have happened regularly in history, I noticed you talked about how you think the world is going into tribalism, like that. And I think that's right, because you look back, Europe 100 years ago, you had loads of different countries and nation states. Soviet Union collapsed about 30 years ago, and then we have all new countries now. We've got in Europe, the UK left the EU. We've got Scotland and Wales that want to break up from the UK. So yeah, I think people need to be prepared for that as well, this political breakup. because even, you know, Italy and Germany, they were never always like one unit. And I think we could be moving to the breakup of political units and tribalism. Can you go over that a little bit? What you
Yeah, well,
think?
tribalism is when you group together with people who have, for instance, shared values or some common ancestry, or could be a ethnic, you know, you belong to the same ethnic groups. It could be many reasons why you find, you know, something in common with these people, so we group together and form a tribe. And I'm not saying that this is right, this is something we should do. I'm just saying, as I said in that video, that I think this is going to happen. It's the opposite of what the technocrats and the unelected bureaucrats and the high-paid politicians want, or at least they say they want something completely different. And I think they do. I think they want to move in the opposite direction. They want to build, first of all, they want to build a European Union that is a lot stronger, also when it comes to military power, than it is today, which I think would be extremely dangerous for world peace. We are already seeing, and I live in Norway, and as you said, and we have a shared border with Russia, and I don't like how Norwegian politicians, they are almost aggressive towards Russia. It's silly, and they don't really have a reason to do that. Well, they have a reason to do that, but they don't have any valid reason, if you ask me. It would be much more sensible to collaborate when it comes to trade and building bridges to Russia, you know, and go forward in that direction. But also we see it in mainstream media. It's actually very interesting if you're interested in studying mass psychosis and manipulation of people. They are in the process of changing people's view of Russia now, at least here in Norway. It's probably the same in many Western European and Eastern European states. It should concern people. It's not the right way to move forward. Now, tribalism is coming, and some people might be surprised to see that tribes will be forming across borders, and even people with different religions might group together in tribes. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a gradual process, of course. It's going to take lots of years, but that's where we are moving. And as you said, we are seeing this already. I think the European unity, if there ever was such a thing, is going to break up very soon.
Yeah, and I guess even you could argue that our, you know, online communities on YouTube are kind of like a tribe. The thing about Russia, I totally agree with you, because here in the UK it's the same thing. Everything's blamed on the Russians. And if you look at the map of Eurasia, so to speak, all the let's say military bases surrounding the old Soviet Union, they're all American or NATO bases. And from what I remember well as well, during the Bush administration, the first Bush, in the when the Soviet Union broke up, there was a vocal agreement between, I think, James Baker, who was the Secretary of State, and Shevardnadze, I think he was the Secretary of State of the Soviet Union at the time, to like for the Soviet Union to withdraw from Eastern Europe, the Warsaw Pact dissolved, and the Americans promised the Russians that they would not, NATO would not go into Eastern Europe, but they broke that promise. So if anyone, if any country or bloc of countries have been aggressive, it's been NATO, not the Russians. And I agree with you. I don't understand why the Norwegian political class would want to try to piss off the big Russian bear.
Well, it could be very simple. They want a career internationally, and that's what they need to say to get into the right offices,
I think there's a Norwegian prime minister. He's the head of NATO, isn't it? Stoltenberg.
Yes, well, he was the prime minister here. Yes, yes, yeah. I actually think he's one of the good guys in a way, but I think he's very much trapped into a system. The next guy will be, well, I don't know. That's just me guessing. But I don't see why there could be any sense, reason, or logic in being so aggressive towards Russia. I'm not saying that Russia is innocent, far from it. But if you just pop across the border and you look west, it's very easy to see that NATO is aggressive. That's just the truth.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, very aggressive. I was actually looking at some of your, because you have a blog as well, don't you? Bull-Hansen.com. And I was actually looking at an article you wrote like 5 years ago. And I thought it was really interesting how to know if you're a Viking, the law of highest resistance. And I thought to myself, well, of course, I'm not a Viking. My family is originally from Italy, but I read that and I thought, well, maybe I am. Could you go over that law of highest resistance? I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a principle.
Yeah.
And it's an attitude as well, maybe more of an attitude. It's more an attitude, and I think that if, let's say you something happens in your life and it's very hard to handle. What if your attitude is, okay, so this has happened, give me more, because I will fight. And it sounds insane, right? But when you have that attitude that you want the fight and you will seek out the fight, it does something to your mentality and you become immensely strong mentally. I believe it's the Viking spirit. And I believe that they were not fools, of course, but it's very difficult to explain. That's why I wrote a blog post, I guess. But people seem to choose the path of least resistance, at least these days, or maybe it's always been like that. But what if you say that I live for the fight and I want to be tested and I want to conquer, I want to win, and there is greater honor in a very hard fight than in a very easy fight. So that's why you will choose the path of highest resistance. And it's on my if people scroll down some way down.
I'm going to put a link to that article in the description.
Thank you.
And because I read that and I thought, well, maybe I am a Viking in spirit, because my father always taught me that you can if you want to do something, you have to try it, and you shouldn't listen to other people telling you you can't do it. And that's the philosophy. Yeah, and also, it's not always. I think it's not always just having good things happen to you. It's also how you react if bad things happen to you. If you come back and fight back, I think it's really a good, principle to live by, especially nowadays with all that's going on with all these things we're being told to do, and these silly rules that we have to respect. And with that, could you talk a little bit about your opinion, what will happen, and if they will be successful? The Davos crowd, Klaus Schwab.
Yes, I will start by commenting to a comment that I got on one of my videos. And the comment said something like, there are too few of us. Most people, they are sheep, and the people who dare to think for themselves, there's so few of us. Well, if there is one of this is a bit silly maybe, but it's almost a joke. One Viking, he faces an army, and he's all alone, and he will say is, why are we bringing all these soldiers? Why are we bringing so many men who will get hurt?
Yeah, the only one. Yeah.
No, but it's one is enough, and that's the attitude that we need to have now. It doesn't matter if the ratio is 10-1. So what? Why does that even come into the equation here? I don't think it should. I can, if there was 1,000-1, I would still be confident.
I remember the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe when the Iron Curtain collapsed. It was I was born in '64, so I was in my early mid-20s, and I remember I was quite shocked because we always thought, that Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, the Warsaw Pact, those people will never be able to free themselves. But all of a sudden, it just collapsed. And I heard stories, or you probably heard stories of people like in Russia or other places when it all collapsed and they started could talk to each other. People found out that a lot more people were thinking like people like us think right now,
Yeah.
So I think also in the mainstream media, the governments, they keep saying that, so many people took the jib jab, so many people are doing that, but I think they're inflating those numbers a lot just to try to get people that don't want to toe the line to toe the line.
Yeah, well, what people need to do now is speak their mind. They must not be afraid, because this is not about us, it's about our children. It really is. And I really don't care about what happens to me if the result is that my children will get to live in a free world. That's so much more important than anything else. So people need to stop being cowards. They need to speak their mind. And if they can't do that, I think they deserve whatever happens to them, because you have a choice every day. Every day. You can be a coward or you can do something. You can speak your mind. And I'm not saying that you need to shout in the streets or anything like that, but at least say what you think and be honest. If everyone did that, this would already have been over.
That's right.
Yeah. I can say that if it was up to me, we would not have the TV channels here, but it's not up to me. So
Yeah.
That's how it is. But,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's another thing as well. I saw yesterday there was a BBC newscast, or yeah, he has a program which I don't know about because I don't watch it, but he's very he's very woke, and he's very pro lockdowns and everything. And yesterday he was outside by Downing Street, and there were protesters over there because last night Boris Johnson announced another 4 weeks, and they started like shouting at this reporter. They didn't hit him or touch him, but they were very aggressive, and he was scared, and he ran back across the road, and he had to go into Downing Street. The police let him in, and I think yeah, it was a little bit rough on the guy. Maybe not the right way to go about it, but I can understand why people are angry at the media.
yeah, the media is they have I like to call them old media. That's the mainstream, the TV news channels and all that. They have a lot to answer for now. They've not done their job, and it gets worse. They've even participated in manipulation of the population, which is extremely a serious offense in my mind.
Yeah. What about Sweden? Because last year when countries started locking down, Sweden decided not to. Seeing that you are a lot closer to Sweden, you should know a lot more than what the mainstream media is telling us here. Do you think they proved that this was all hysteria?
Well, actually, Sweden has had a lot more fatalities associated with COVID. Now, they are saying that they count differently than we do in Norway. I haven't looked into the details on that, but I do know that in Norway, Sweden has been used almost on a daily basis as an example of how bad things would get if we did not lock down. Look at Sweden, they're all dying. Now, if you put that into a context, if you look at more countries, several countries, you will see that Sweden, I think Sweden has done better statistically than the UK. Isn't that true?
Probably. I don't know, but yeah, it has done very similar to countries.
Yeah, well,
like the UK.
at least when I looked at those numbers, Norway has done well in this whole, Norway has done well when it comes to the numbers. If we keep everything else out, depression from lockdowns, the economy and all that, if we keep that out of the picture, which we shouldn't. But anyway, if you look at Sweden in a broader context, and you will see that it's actually not that bad. And it seems like the lockdowns didn't really do anything good. But Sweden has been used as an example, as I said, here in Norway by the authorities. Look at Sweden. Everyone is dying. We should lock everything down, and we should keep everything locked down. We should keep social distancing and all that. So that's the Norwegian official perspective on this.
I see. Yeah, here they like to not invent, but they're playing on these variants. They're also using percentages instead of real numbers, because they say, oh, cases went up by 40%, but you find out that is a few hundred cases in a country of 60 million. And I remember last year when this all started.
Can I just say one thing there?
Yeah.
Because I find another thing that I find frustrating, and you will know what I'm talking about here, because you have a background, I guess, in statistics. You know what statistics is.
Yeah.
I studied statistics in university as part of my education there. So But you don't need to study statistics to see how false and wrong everything becomes when they just present the number of positive cases, but they don't see that in relation to the number or the portion of the population that has been tested. Or so this is another massive failure of the mainstream media. But I think they're not that stupid. They know what they're doing, and they want the clicks, they want the views. If they presented this in relation to the number of tested people or the portion of the population that is being tested and so on, the numbers wouldn't be that dramatic. But of course, they're not interested in that. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Another thing they do is like they always present cases here per 100,000. So if you have 100 and it jumps to 200, they say, wow, it jumped from 100 to 200. But if you do it in percentage, it's such a tiny number, because that 100 or even 1,000 is per 100,000. So yeah, and I've always been saying, as well, since last year, that don't forget that 388,000 new babies are born every day in the world. So, why not put that in the newspapers and in the news? If they put that in the news every day, I think people would be a lot happier and less fearful.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at now, I think, was it Europe as a whole, or was it Sweden, or, well, your viewers can go and check this out, and this information is available. We had under mortality or low mortality in the years leading up to 2020. So without COVID, we will still have a spike, because lots of old people would be dying of natural causes anyway. So, and that's what happened when you have a year or a couple of years where the mortality goes down, which is natural because it's not totally stable. And then because people die, and the next year or the next couple of years, it will go up a little bit. So that's not been taken into consideration either. And there are lots of these factors that, if you like numbers, if you like to look at numbers, which I do, it gets interesting.
I saw as well that I think in Germany and Italy, prior to 2019, I think the flu seasons are very mild. So like it really picked up. So maybe the people that organized event 201 knew that.
Maybe it was Italy I read about.
Italy, It could have been Italy. But anyway, I've kept you for a long time. So I really enjoyed chatting with you. Maybe we could do it again. Great. But before we go, could you tell our viewers where they can find your videos, your work, your books, and everything else?
Well, I have the website address here on my bookshelf. It's bull-hansen.com. And my name, if you type in my name on YouTube, you will find me there. So I keep all the information, everything on my website there.